Hello and welcome to another edition of Memory Lane, where today I'm joined by 2016 champion flat jockey Jim Crowley. Jim, thank you very much for having me around.
No problem, pleasure.
This is Memory Lane piece, so obviously we're going to sort of go back to the very beginning, but we'll go to a few recent memories first actually, because you've been doing pretty well, particularly with a horse called Batash.
Yeah, we've had a good run. He's been brilliant this year. Obviously, he started off winning the Temple Stakes, and he was great that day, and he ran a great race at Ascot, and then obviously to win the Goodwood King George Stakes 3 times was marvellous, but I think the icing on the cake definitely was winning the Nunthorpe.
And he didn't just win it, he won it in extraordinary fashion. What was it like? What did that feel like?
It's an amazing feeling to ride a horse of that calibre. I mean, you know, when you're winning sprints by 4 or 5 lengths, it's the equivalent to a miler winning by sort of 10 lengths, you know. And he's just electric, and I've always had great belief in the horse. And sometimes he hasn't shown that brilliance. And I've expected him to win, the King Stand, and he was second. I thought he'd win the Abbey last year. But when he's good, he's very, very good. And I was so relieved to that he proved everybody wrong. And he had a few doubters, and he was absolutely brilliant at York, and obviously breaking the track record from Deja was wonderful as well. So it was a real special day.
Is he a difficult horse to ride?
He wants to do everything quicker than you really want him to do. He's from the time you get on him going to post, you've just got he's like a little fuse waiting to be lit. He has his moments at the start, as you saw at York a couple of years ago. And in the race, when those gates open, he just wants to go, and you've got to try and just conserve that energy as best you can, because, I mean, God only knows how quick he would be if you actually dropped your hands and let him run. He's quick enough as it is, but yeah, he's a real pleasure to ride.
Absolutely. So as I say, we'll go back to where it all started. So, were you brought up here in West Sussex, or? No,
I was born in the hospital right opposite Ascot Racecourse in Heatherwood Hospital.
Right.
My parents lived close by, and I grew up around there. They had point-to-pointers, so I was brought up around racehorses, and then sort of went on to ponies and things like that. Sort of did show jumping, bit of a hunting, eventing, tried a bit of everything really. Didn't really have my heart set on being a jockey actually.
Right.
And I sort of stumbled upon it. I just went for a summer job with a local trainer to me, a chap called Con Horgan, and I got hooked after that really.
Were you academic as a kid?
No, I wasn't academic at all. I wouldn't say I was stupid, but I wasn't that keen on school. I'd much rather be down the yard with the ponies and things like that. I'd pretty much made my mind up that I was going to do something with horses from an early age. So yeah, no, I certainly wasn't academic that way.
I think it's probably a fairly common theme among successful jockeys anyway. You mentioned the fact that you were quite light and obviously got into racing as a result, but you didn't obviously go down the flat route immediately. You went into jump racing to start with.
Yeah, that's right. I started off as an amateur, and I was an assistant trainer and sort of had an amateur license and things like that, and then I went sort of down that route, and I started riding in point-to-points. I was always too heavy for the flat. I was around sort of 9.5 stone, just under 10 stone, and I was bit too light for jumping and a bit too heavy for the flat, so hence that's why I went down the jumping route, and I did a season or 2 as an amateur, and then I went and moved up north and rode for Sue and Harvey Smith, and I sort of based myself there for a few years. It was great fun, and turned professional after that. I had a really good year as an amateur, probably rode 40 odd winners as an amateur one season, and then went conditional after that.
Okay. And what was it like working for Sue and Harvey Smith? I imagine they're both sort of real characters in their own right, aren't they?
Amazing. I mean, Harvey's a unique character, a very gifted horseman. There's not many people like him about. He sees things in horses that other people can't see, and I learned a great deal there. Schooling, just general horsemanship as well was a big key there, and it was a great time. And I loved it a lot, yeah.
And were there ambitions then within jump racing to achieve a great deal, or?
Yeah, obviously, when I went conditional, I think I was vying for the conditional jockey's title that year, and I might have been in front, and I had a bad fall and got smashed up, and I was out for nearly 2 months. But yeah, I always had ambitions to sort of be champion jockey and things like that. But I sort of realised I was only sort of I wouldn't say middle of the road, but I wasn't really riding a lot of winners, and I wasn't happy with how my situation was going at the time. I wasn't struggling by any means, but I realised I wasn't going to be champion jockey, and I felt that it might be worth a change to get my weight down on the flat.
You say obviously you were doing all right. I mean, there's a picture I think somewhere around this room somewhere of a Newcastle 4-timer. So you were doing pretty well.
Yeah, we had some good times. I think I probably rode just short of 300 winners over jumps. I had some good days, and I loved it. But I think I was about 26, and I realised, look, I'm not going to be champion jockey. And my sister-in-law Amanda Perrett, I used to come down for the summer and ride work, and my father-in-law, who is Guy Harwood, would say to me, why don't you get your flat licence out? And at the time I thought, nah, it's not going to work. And then I did one summer, and I got rolling and started to ride a few winners. Yeah.
So would you say you're kind of more of a jumps man at heart? Is that fair to say?
I think you'd always have the jumps at heart, but funny enough, when I was growing up, I was always very keen on watching flat racing. Sorry. We've got a little person making faces at me.
Doing his best to distract you, yeah?
Obviously, I've always had flat racing at heart, I've always watched it, so no, I'm probably more flat now, definitely.
Okay. And so that transition then, was that a very difficult transition to make?
Yes and no. It was because it hadn't really been done before. You'd had jockeys who had probably rode maybe, I don't know, a few winners over hurdles and realised it wasn't for them and then gone to the flat. But I'd sort of carved out a career as a jump jockey, and then to go straight to the flat with no claim, people said to me that it was...
He's back.
He's back. Some people said it's not going to work, and I asked a few people's advice, and they said, you're mad, you're riding 40-50 winners a year over jumps, what do you want to give all that up for? But like I said, I realised I'd probably reached my level over jumps, and once I set my stall out on doing it, there was no turning back. I completely quit riding over jumps. There was, at no stage did I think about trying to do two. There was a lot of jockeys worked dual purpose at the time, and I thought that it would be the way forward to just solely concentrate on the flat.
Okay. And then what about the weight? Was that a serious issue for you, or did you manage that okay?
Yeah, it was difficult actually. I remember sort of I set myself a diet. I think I had a banana for breakfast, a tin of baked beans, and a banana for dinner, and I did that for about a month. And I was running every day, and it fell off me. Literally, I was sort of, and then I found myself at a stage where I was doing two lighter weights.
Right.
Because I needed to get the rides. I couldn't turn down rides. I had to take what was offered for me. So I found myself taking a lot of rides that probably I wouldn't take now because the weights were much lower then. And it was hard, when I was taking sort of 5-6 pounds off to do 8 7s and 8 6s. It was difficult, and it was a bit of a struggle to begin with. But as I've got older, my weight stabilised now. So obviously, I don't try and ride at those light weights every day. If I've got an important ride at an 8-7, 7 days notice, I can work away at it and get my way down for it.
And you're not living on a diet of beans and bananas?
No, I don't like beans or bananas anymore, believe it or not.
Did that put you off completely, that little stint?
I think it did, yeah, it must have done. So, but no, I try and eat, it's getting a balance. You've got to... I obviously exercise a lot. I run most days, and that controls my weight very well. And also try and eat healthily as best you can. It's not always easy when you've got a young family and there's a bit of something about and a bit of chocolate or something. But it's just getting a balance, and I think if you exercise, it sort of stabilises it quite well.
So going back to that sort of switch into flat racing, then when was that? Around what sort of time?
I think it was around 2006.
Okay.
like I said, I started off through the summer, and obviously I was riding a few for my sister-in-law, Amanda Perrett, and then a local trainer called Peter Winkworth.
Oh, yes.
Had quite a few 2-year-olds at the time, and I remember David Redvers was buying for him, and they were buying some really nice horses, and we were going to Windsor on a Monday night, and normally it was Mr. Hannon winning every race, and suddenly Peter Winkworth was nipping a few in there, and we were winning with some nice horses, and it was sort of, I remember Alan Munro, he got injured or something happened, and he was unable to ride at the time, and Rod Millman was one of his bigger yards, and at the time Rod had quite a lot of horses, and Rod then approached me and said, look, you can ride all of mine. So it was a bit of a no-brainer. I basically went from having sort of a pool of around 100 horses to ride on the flat. So that was it. That was the turning point for me around 2006. And I just said, that's it. I'm staying on the flat now.
Okay. And then at what point did you start to sort of build towards champion jockey? Was that what it must have been sort of part of your brain, part of your thinking, if that's why you switched from jumps, because that was never a possibility?
Yeah, I didn't set out on the flat to be champion jockey. I sort of set out to just do as well as I can. Obviously, you do set yourself goals. Obviously, I rode a group winner the first year. I was lucky enough I won the Brigadier Gerard Stakes for Patrick Chammings, and then the Jockey Club Cup. So, I had some nice winners to start with, and then I didn't think I'd be champion jockey. So you start trying to build goals to win nice races. Then you want to win a Group 1. Then you want to win a Royal Ascot winner, and you set yourself little goals, and we were hitting those goals all along. So the championship didn't really think about it probably until about 2014-15, and I approached Tony Hind, my agent now, and it was when Richard Hughes retired.
Okay.
And there was an opening there, and I spoke to Ryan Moore, and I said, do you think there'd be an opening with Tony? And yeah, Tony rang me up, and that was that.
So once you've decided, presumably along with Tony, that you're going to go for that, what happens then? Is it just as many rides as you can get everywhere, or is it a bit more selective? How does it work?
No, I mean, it was very strategically planned. I mean, obviously I was freelance at the time, which meant I pretty much could go anywhere. So we'd start at the week and look where we could go and base ourselves around a winner, and then try and build around that. The start of 2016, I was a long way behind. I mean, I went into Goodwood, and I must have been 17, 18, maybe even 20 behind Sylvester, and I was a 66 to 1 shot. We had a really good couple of weeks just after Goodwood, and it literally just snowballed. And I thought, as soon as if I can get within 10, I've got a chance. And we caught up quite quickly, and then it was really fun actually, because the press made a real thing about it. We were toe to toe for a good month, and every time I tried to ride a winner, Sylvester would ride 2, so I tried to ride 3. And he was an unbelievable competitor. He just wouldn't lie down, and neither of us wanted to give in. And it was at the end of the year, I was knackered. I knew I'd done it, that's for sure.
And you say obviously you're trying to ride 3 winners to his 2. Presumably every day you're trying to ride winners. So how is it different when you're going for a championship?
Well, obviously you're trying to ride more winners. And you take, I think the month of September we had 200 rides and 46 winners in September,
which was, I think, a record for the time.
It was a record, and at the time I wasn't aware of it. And you look back now, and if you think like Sir Frankie, and I think the most anyone's ridden in the modern era is 40. So we had a remarkable month, and it sort of went 46, 38, and we were just completely on a roll. And it was. I'd love to do it again, but I can understand why a lot of top jockeys don't want to go for the championship, because the amount of work you have to do to win it, it is just. It's especially if you're in a toe to toe. It's different if your nearest competitor sort of 20 behind and you've got a big stable behind you. It's a bit different, but if there's 2 of you going for toe to toe, it certainly takes its toll on you.
And you're doing a huge amount of travelling, I guess, because you're going to as many race meetings as you can. Is that right?
Yeah, basically lived in the car. and we were up and down the country everywhere. But listen, it was the most amazing season. I loved every minute of it. And, I'd probably love to have another crack at it at some point, but my commitments to Sheikh Hamdan will always come first. But you never know. You never know. It might be possible to do the two at some stage. You never know.
And how did that association come about? Did he just ring you up one day and just say, "Look, I want you on my team," sort of thing, or?
Yeah, I got a call from Angus Gold, and I think it was in sort of November time, just asking me, would I be interested, and explain what it entailed, and yeah, straight away it was a dream job, and jobs like that don't come around very often, and yes, it was a great honour to be asked, and yeah, it's just absolutely delighted when the phone call came through.
Yeah. Would he have had Batash at that time? Forgive my ignorance.
Yeah, no, Batash would have been. He was 3 the first year.
Okay.
I had the job, so I didn't ride him the previous year. But yeah,
Which
so
was probably a bit of a blessing, wasn't it?
I say it was a bit of a blessing. Yeah. So yeah, he was a bit of a tricky customer. It's 2-year-old apparently.
Yeah. And what about the other horses of his that you've enjoyed riding?
Oh, we've had a few. I mean, one of my favourites, Mustachery.
Yeah.
He won the Lockinge this year. He's won Group 2s, Group 3s. He's a real solid horse. Over in Dubai, one of my favourites was a horse called Ertajal, who's got the track record at Meydan over 5, another real speed ball. Muntazar, he's a real favourite of mine in Dubai. There's been a few really nice ones actually. So yeah, I've been lucky.
And of course, one that's not owned by Sheikh Hamdan, Ulysses. He was another you had a great relationship with.
Yeah, he was great actually. It was just it was right place, right time. I actually got the ride on him at Ascot at the last minute. Frankie had a bad fall at Yarmouth, and I think obviously Ryan was first choice. Andrea Arazzini was second choice. Frank Chito Tori was third choice, and they weren't available. And I got the call up to ride him. And he finished. I think he finished 3rd or 4th in the Prince of Wales Stakes. He ran a super race. Probably got there too soon on him. And then it was the time coming up to the Eclipse, and I was down to ride Eminent, and I'd finished 4th in the Derby on him. And I think connections were a little bit upset that he hadn't finished closer. But I think it was, in my opinion, he'd finished as close as he was capable of. And looking back on it, it was his best ever run. And I was due to ride him in the Eclipse, and I think a sort of declaration time, they decided to have a change, and I was sort of left sat on the sidelines, and luckily for me, Ulysses was available, and I got the ride on him and he won, and it was just amazing. You couldn't write the script, it was just unbelievable.
Yeah, it sounds like he's been a very fortunate spare then, really, isn't he?
Very fortunate spare, and what a spare to pick up. He was such a talented horse. Obviously, he then went on and was second to Enabling the King George on soft ground, giving her lumps of weight. Then he won the Jodmont, and he was 3rd in the Arc de Triomphe. He was a real star for me, an absolute star.
We've talked a lot about what you have achieved so far. What ambitions do you still have, or what would you like to sort of tick off the career list?
Obviously, I'd love to win a classic. I've hit the crossbar a few times now. I've had a couple of seconds in Ledgers and Oakses, and that's obviously to win a classic. I'd like to win more than one, to be honest. But that would be lovely to do. And sort of, there's been many jockeys who've gone through their career and not done it, and we've come close a few times. And I'd really love to ride Sheikh Hamdan, a classic winner.
And you mentioned there the frustration of finishing second. How are you in that regard? Like, if you've had a bit of a bad day or a day where you nearly got there and not, do you come home and dwell on it, or do you move on quite quickly?
I think if you think you've done something wrong, yeah, it can affect you. It can play on your mind, and I've probably been my own worst critic. And there's times I've come home and thought I should have won on something, and then you watch a replay and you think, oh, maybe I'm being a bit hard, But when you've got children, that's a big plus, I think, because when they come home and they don't really care if you've had a winner or not, and that takes your mind off it. But no, I try not to dwell on it too much. But any jockey will tell you, one who cares, if you get beat on something, it will eat away at you, and if it doesn't, then I don't think you've got the right mindset, to be honest.
You've ridden on the flat and jumps, and presumably ridden in quite a few interesting races.
Yeah, I have. I remember when I was jumping, I had some strange places to go to. I went and rode out in the Pardubice, which was unique. Had a few winners around there. Unfortunately, got brought down in the big one out there, which was a shame. But yeah, I remember walking the course, and there was 2 gravestones next to one of the fences. And when I asked what that was, they told me it was the groundsman, which I found out afterwards it was 2 jockeys that had been killed and got buried there. So I'm glad I didn't find that out before the race, because I think I'd have done a runner. But no, that was interesting. Yeah, I used to go up to Murano quite a lot in northern Italy.
Oh yeah.
It used to be some really good jump races up there. The Grand Premio di Murano, which we've had a couple of wins in. And I have to say that's probably the most beautiful race course I've ever been to. It's in a beautiful place up there. All the mountains surrounding. When the race is being run, there's no cheering from the crowd. They just every time they jump a fence, they just stand and applaud. There's no shouting. It's a remarkable place. But yeah, I enjoyed going there.
And am I right in saying you've ridden on the ice in St Moritz as well?
Yeah, we had a few trips out to St Moritz. Interesting. We had a couple of winners out there. One for George Baker, which was good fun, and I can't say I'm over in love with riding around there, but the nightlife was quite good. But yeah, it was interesting, that's for sure. The horses have to have studs as big as your thumb, and all the jockeys have masks on to avoid the kickback. But yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, good place to be in front. Yeah,
yeah, definitely make the running.
Yeah, and obviously somewhere slightly warmer, Australia. You had your first ride in the Melbourne Cup last year.
Yes, I was lucky enough to go down there, Montazar for John Gosden at Sheikh Hamdan. Absolutely amazing experience. It's like when they say it's a race that stops a nation, until you go and see it for yourself. It was just, I was blown away by it all. Like I said, the media just get behind it, and it was an amazing experience. One I'll never forget, definitely.
I'm going to ask you a horrible question now. What would you say has been the highlight of your career so far?
Without a doubt, it's probably being champion jockey.
Yeah.
Because to come from jumping and to go and do that, it's if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have the job with Sheikh Hamdan.
Okay.
So that season of hard work really got me noticed, and yeah, probably that is without doubt.
Excellent. On that note, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Jim.
Thank you.